Let me welcome you, my dear students. This is our fourth learning session of short fictional narratives with BS English, third semester. My dear students, if you remember what we did last time, we tried to learn Introduction to Edgar Allan Poe. We tried to learn the title significance of the Cask of Amontillado, and we tried to learn the plot analysis of the Cask of Amontillado. We also tried to learn the setting, character, symbol, irony and themes in Cask of Amontillado. So dear student, it was about the previous lecture. So let's discuss our today's outline, that today we will discuss the introduction to O. Henry. So dear students, we will discuss the title significance of Hearts and Hands, and we also discuss the plot analysis, setting, characters, literary elements and themes in Hearts and Hands. So my dear students, let's start our discussion on the introduction to O. Henry. My dear students, O. Henry's real name is William Sidney Potter, and he was born on September 11th, 1862 in Greensboro, North Carolina. So dear students, when he was 3 years old, his mother was died of tuberculosis. When he and his father moved in with his grandmother, he attended school and read anything he could find. So dear students, at the age of 20, he moved to Texas and worked as a bank teller. He married in 1887 and began to write sketches. In 1896, he was wrongly accused of embezzlement and fled to New Orleans and later Honduras. So dear students, in 1896 we can say that when he received news of his wife's illness, he returned to Texas, and after her death he was arrested. So my dear students, during this time period he wrote stories that later became Cabbage and Kings. When he was released in 1902, he moved to New York, where he lived until his passing on June 5th, 1910. We can say that even after his death, his stories continued to be collected and published until 1939. So it was about the life of O. Henry. So let's discuss the writing style of the O. Henry. My dear student, his work is known for its irony, clever characters, plot twist, unexpected twist ending and wit, and wordplay, master of surprising ending. So we can simply say that he is a master of surprising ending, and his writing is full of, paranomasia, irony, metaphor, exaggeration and metonymy that make his stories humoristic and funny. And important features of his writing style is the combination of tragedy and comedy, that is tearful smile. Most of his narrative is based on his childhood in the South and his dealing with the criminals of Texas. He talks about his life with the criminals of Texas and his stories uses of humor and fun. So my dear student, uses speech patterns. The speech pattern is that of common folks. So this was about the writing style of the O. Henry. So let's discuss the Heart and Hands. So my dear students, the author has titled the story Hearts and Hands because by having the marshal lie about his hand, he shows his heart for the convict and highlights the theme of compassion. The word hearts also indicates the kind of friendship that exists between Miss Fairchild and Mr. Aston. So we can say that it is an apt title. So my dear students, it was about the title significance of Heart and Hands. So let's discuss the plot analysis of Hearts and Hands. So my dear students, the exposition of the story is when Miss Fairchild is on a train and she sees one of her old friends, Mr. Aston, who is handcuffed to a prisoner. So dear student, it was the exposition of the story, and now we are going to discuss the rising action. So the rising action of heart and hand is when both start talking to each other, and she finds, simply we can say that she finds out that he is a marshal. So it was the rising action. So my dear student, let's discuss the climax. That the climax of the story is when they are telling each other about their lives and how they miss each other. So means one another. So it was about the climax of the story. So let's discuss the falling action. The falling action of hearts and hand is when Mr. Easton goes and takes the prisoner to the smoking room. So this was about the falling action. So my dear students, the resolution of the story is when Mr. Easton says goodbye to his old friend Miss Fairchild. So it was about the thought analysis of the hearts and hands. So my dear students, let's discuss the mood and setting of the story. So the mood of the story is happy because it is about the reunion, as Miss Fairchild gets to see an old friend unexpectedly. The friend name was Aston. After Miss Fairchild realized it is Aston and his prisoner. So quickly explained that he is a handcuffed to a prisoner and he is a marshal now. So it was about the mood, that we can simply say that the mood is very happy. Then the setting. The story is set on a train to Denver, and elegantly we can simply say that the story is about an elegantly attired woman. The name of that woman is Miss Fairchild, which is seated on the train when two men arrive and take the seat facing her. It quickly becomes apparent that the woman knows one of the men. So we can simply say that the setting is on a train to Denver. So dear student, it was about the mood and setting. So let's discuss the character of the short story. So dear students, let me tell you that the characters of the story are Mr. Aston, Miss Fairchild, and the other man, means the marshal. So let's discuss is one by one that Mr. Aston. Mr. Aston, the main character is in the story Heart and Hand, is a handsome person. With frank, we can simply say that Aston is with the frank countenance and manners. The story is set in a train to Denver, and an elegantly dressed woman named Miss Fairchild is seated in the train when two men arrive and take the seat facing her. One of the two men is Aston. He is handcuffed to the other man seated beside him. Aston greets the young woman as he knows her, and he feels embarrassed and uncomfortable before the young woman due to his handcuffs. She begins to chat with him but continues to stare at the handcuffs. The glow fades from her cheeks and the glad looks in her eyes changes to bewilderness. So we can say that the bewildered horror. The other man senses Aston's embarrassment and gives an explanation that Aston is a marshal and the two are headed for Leavenworth prison. So dear student, in this story the man is lying because Aston is not really a marshal. It is the real marshal who present him as a marshal, and he is a we can say that the counterfeiter in reality. We can say that two passengers in the train reveals that he is a counterfeiter, and one observes that he is too young to be a marshal, and the other says, did you ever know an officer to handcuff a prisoner to his right hand? These remarks by the two passengers reveals the true identity of Mr. Aston. So it was about the character of Mr. Aston. So let's discuss Miss Fairchild. My dear students, Miss Fairchild, the most important character in the story Heart and Hands, is a charming woman. She is a pretty young woman and is elegantly dressed. She is traveling in a train to Denver. She is rich, materialistic, and self-centered. She is seated on the train when two men arrive and take the seat facing her. She knows one of them, whose name is Aston. She begins to chat with him but is surprised to discover that he is handcuffed to the man seated beside him. So she becomes tense and feels embarrassed. The glow fades from her cheeks and the glad look in her eyes changes to bewildered horror. She is unable to reconcile with the situation and stares at him in disbelief. To ease her we can say that the bewilderment and embarrassment, the other man reveals that he is a marshal, and all marshals handcuff themselves to their prisoners to keep them from getting away. She is slightly, we can say that she is slightly relieved, and as the two, we can say that the two men stand to go to the smoker car, the young woman bids goodbye to Mr. Aston and goes away. So this was about the Miss Fairchild. So my dear students, let's discuss the other man who is in actual a marshal. So dear students, the other man who plays a significant role in the story Heart and Hands is a ruffled, glum-faced person. He is heavily built and roughly dressed, yet he is kind and helpful. He has his heart in the right place, and so extends the hands of help to his companion. He is handcuffed with Mr. Aston. Both are going in a train to Denver. They enter the train and seat themselves in front of an elegantly dressed woman named Miss Fairchild, and Mr. Aston and Miss Fairchild engage themselves in a conversation because they know each other. Miss Fairchild is surprised to see Mr. Aston in handcuffs. She is tense and embarrassed and stares at him in disbelief. The other man is, the observant and intelligent. He observes that both Miss Fairchild and Mr. Aston are feeling embarrassed, so he comes to their rescue. He is sympathetic and helpful. To ease the concern of Miss Fairchild and remove the embarrassment of Aston, he comes forward with an explanation that Aston is a marshal and is taking him to Leavenworth prison, and both feels relaxed. He saves the otherwise unpleasant and uncomfortable situation. It is in this way that he plays a significant role in the story. So dear students, now you can imagine that the title significance, that Hearts and Hands, that it is the heart of the marshal who tells about the reality of who lies about the reality of hands. So this was about the characters of the story. So let's discuss the literary elements which are used in this story. So my dear students, the literary elements are foreshadowing and imagery, irony, symbolism and suspense. So let's discuss it one by one. My dear students, first we are going to discuss the foreshadowing. So when we talk about the foreshadowing, it's when Aston told Miss Fairchild that he needed to go to Leavenworth, he also spoke of his past making money in the West. So it was about the foreshadowing. The next literary element is imagery. So the author vividly describes the setting and characters. Among the newcomers were two young men, one of handsome presence with a bold, frank, we can simply say that, countenance and manners, the other a ruffled, glum-faced person, heavily built and roughly dressed. We can say that the two were handcuffed together. It tells about the imagery, which is the imagery of vision. Means visionary imagery is used in this. We can simply say that in this short story. And the irony through the story, Miss Fairchild talks to him as if he is a hero because he is a marshal, and so now you are one of the dashing Western heroes, and you ride and shoot and go into all kind of dangers. So the line is used by the Miss Fairchild about the we can simply say that about Mr. Aston, but it was about the irony. Means he is in actual a prisoner and the other person is marshal. So at the end she finds out that he is the prisoner. So it is all about the irony of the story. So let's discuss the symbolism. So my dear students, the symbolism, we can say that the writer has used the symbol, the handcuff, which symbolizes a lower standard of living. When Aston pointed them out, the Miss Fairchild was horrified and judged him instantly. So it tells about the symbolism which is used in this short story. So let's discuss the suspense. My dear students, the reader is left with a feeling of suspense when Aston's true identity is revealed and story ends. So it was a little bit sketch which is used by the literary elements in the short story of Hearts and Hands. So my dear students, let's discuss the themes which are used in this short story. My dear students, let's discuss the themes which are used in this short story, Hearts and Hands. So my dear students, let me tell you that the first theme is the theme of appearance or disguise or deceptive. And the other theme which is used in this short story is the theme of freedom. And the next theme is the theme of honesty. We can simply say that the last theme in this story is the theme of identity. So these are some themes which are used in this short story, which we will discuss in our next lecture. Means we will discuss these themes in we can simply say that in detail. So it was about the themes with names of the themes which we can say that the themes used in this short story. So my dear students, it was about our today's lecture in which we can simply say that in our today's lecture, or we can simply say that let's discuss the quick review of our today's lecture. That today we have discussed the introduction to O. Henry and the title significance of Heart and Hands and thought analysis of Heart and Hand, and we also tried to discuss the setting and the characters and literary elements which are used in the story and the names of the themes. And in our next lecture we will discuss these themes one by one in detail. So it is all about our today's lecture. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.